Okay, in this episode, I want to talk about The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. This is one of the most profound books I've read in the past few years. This book was not written for content creators, but it has some seriously profound lessons that I think content creators can and should really learn from. For some context, I started posting on a consistent upload schedule my freshman year of college, so I've been posting content fairly regularly for like 7 years. So it's been a really long time, and technically I made it. Like when I graduated, I was living on my YouTube income. I went full time on my skateboarding channel. That's my biggest channel. It's at 300,000 subscribers. I was posting one video a week, but after a couple of years, I was burnt out. It wasn't feeling very good. I had all these other videos I wanted to make, but every time I tried them on that skate channel, anything that wasn't about skateboarding, it wouldn't really do well in the algorithm and it would really get me down. And I developed this like really internalized belief that the only way I could succeed as a creative was by doing skateboarding content. And because of all that, I wasn't happy. And I feel like I'm not alone in this experience. I think a lot of content creators end up in this weird place of burnout and not quite being happy with the career.
Throughout those 4 years of me creating YouTube videos, I've dealt with burnout time and time again. It takes a huge toll on you.
And so for me, I was in the middle of this crisis. I was like really going through it, just freaking out about everything. Just when I was in the thick of this crisis, pretty serendipitously, The Artist's Way came into my life by completely random chance. I was actually just taking a walk in the neighborhood and I ran into somebody who had seen my videos in the past, but they recommended that I read The Artist's Way. I picked it up, I read it. That was a few months ago. It has absolutely changed my life and my perspective on being a content creator. In fact, I really don't like that terminology anymore. I think the label content creator is actually pretty toxic and limiting, and we'll get into the reasons why. I now actually prefer to call myself an artist. I think it's a much more free and expansive definition. And we'll get into that. So that's the context. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the lessons that The Artist's Way has for content creators in this day and age. And as I talk about these lessons, I'm going to talk about my own experiences implementing these lessons and how they've seriously improved my life and my career. Okay, lesson number 1 that Julia Cameron has in The Artist's Way is to start focusing on the process as opposed to the product. I think that content creators are pretty obsessed with the product. And when I say the product, I'm referring to outcomes, like what happens after the creative work is complete. So if you take the example of a YouTube video, the product is how it performs in the algorithm, whether your audience likes it, you know, how many views it gets, the comments. I even consider the title and the thumbnail part of the product because that's like the packaging of the actual art, which is the video itself. Content creators tend to be hyper fixated on the product or outcomes. So this was true for me. As a YouTuber, like the discourse is all about growing your channel and succeeding on YouTube and getting a lot of views and how to do well in the algorithm. Julia Cameron writes that all too often when people talk about creative work, they emphasize strategy. This is definitely true in my experience. I mean, for me in the thick of it, it was all about strategy. It was all about how do I make the right topics and titles and thumbnails in order to grow my channel, in order to make enough money to turn this into a career. It was completely outcome focused. And, you know, I contrast that to when I was a little kid and I made my channel. And even when I started posting on the upload schedule my freshman year of college, I think I actually was more focused on the process of creating at that time. But over time, what happened is I turned my focus to the product, to growing that channel, to doing well in the algorithm, that sort of thing. Basically, what Julia Cameron argues is that if you're too focused on the product, you actually like lose touch with your ability to create. Like you forget that's the important part. The important part is creating videos that you like to make, because when you like making the videos, they're going to be better videos, and that outcome stuff will more likely follow if you're focusing on creating good work. So I want to break this lesson down into 2 of the primary outcome or product focused things that I was hyper fixating on as a content creator. Number 1 is algorithmic performance. So Like I said, there was just this obsession, video after video. How do I do better in the algorithm? How do I bring up my view average? How do I bring up my click-through rate? Things like that. This cuts across all forms of content creation. Instagram, TikTok, I was always focused on getting those impressions, getting those like counts, and getting my follower count up. All this outcome-focused thinking, fixated on doing well in the algorithm. I'm sure many of you can relate to this, but say you post a new piece of work, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. After you post it, like, do you ever find yourself just like obsessively refreshing to see how many likes you're getting and if it's performing well? I know particularly on YouTube Studio that number out of 10 ranking, I would just constantly refresh that to see if my video was ranking well compared to my previous 10 videos. And when I was in that upper 5 and my video was doing well, I would feel really good. And when I was in the lower 5, I would feel like absolute shit. So not only was my creating being heavily influenced by what was doing well in the algorithm, even my mood was heavily influenced by that. When I was reading The Artist's Way and Julia Cameron started suggesting that, you know, maybe you want to just focus on the process of creation instead of the outcomes, I started to realize, like, holy shit, like I haven't been actually focusing on the videos themselves. I mean, obviously I was making them, but everything was about how do I make this do well in the algorithm, to the point where I would only film a video topic if I could think of a good title and thumbnail for it. And I've even heard that advice before from like those social media experts who are all about strategy.
Do you frequently go that far out of your way to capture the thumbnail?
Yeah, I mean, of course, everyone should. I mean, if people don't click, they don't watch.
And so that was really preventing me from making the videos that I wanted to make. And I think that was a big contributing factor to my burnout. I think there's a category of content creator that I will call the Mr. Beasts of content creation. So the Mr. Beasts out there, they are endlessly driven by widespread success in the algorithm, right? It's all about those banger topics and titles and thumbnails and just doing the craziest shit so that you can get the most views and the most money, right? And I think just because of how the social media platforms are built and how they incentivize creators to create, a lot of us fall right into that category. You know, we see this opportunity to be creative and to make a living from it. And then we just slowly get pushed to, you know, trying to get all our videos to 1 of 10, and we start to develop this obsession with the algorithm and clickbait and shit like that. You know, from experience, that can only take you so far. Like, unless in your heart, like, that's what you want to do, like, you want to play the game of doing well in the algorithm and you are endlessly driven by that, which I assume is how Mr. Beast is. I think, like, that's his motivation. It's to do well in the algorithm. Then, like, by all means, play the game, do well. You'll probably crush many people at the game. But I think there are a lot of us out there, myself included, where that's not actually the intrinsic motivating factor that got us into creating content. When I started making the skate videos, it was just fun. It was just natural. It was just, I wanted to make these videos. Like, it felt good. I enjoyed putting them together. I enjoyed posting them. The whole process was just so much fun. And then, you know, I think over time, I inadvertently slipped into that Mr. Beast thinking where I was like, okay, I want to grow the channel. These numbers, they feel good. They give me dopamine hits. They suggest that one day I can make this my career. And so, you know, I ended up as a Mr. Beast type, even though that's not who I was in my heart. I started making videos for the views instead of the videos that my heart was calling for me to make. And so that really crushed my creative soul over time, you know? So, and try to make videos that you really care about, or whatever your art form is. Try to make the art that you want to make, that's fun for you, that you care about, instead of hyperfixating on how that art is going to perform in the algorithm. So letting go of algorithmic success, how has this looked for me? My energy has really calmed down in my videos. I used to have this overly enthusiastic kind of YouTuber voice because I thought that would do well for engagement. I've also toned down my thumbnails. They've become much more casual, much more true to my personal style. Same with my titles. I've pretty much stopped doing clickbait.
To be successful as a YouTuber, you need to optimize 2 things: watch time and the click-through rate of your videos. If you didn't try to attract attention and get people to click on your links, then you wouldn't really be doing your job.
Instead, you know, I kind of try to think about what video do I want to make, and that's how, you know, this video was born. That's why I'm kind of doing this podcast format. I'm actually just more going with my nature instead of going with what I think is going to do well in the algorithm. I've also completely stopped watching those social media advice videos. You know, know, back in the day when my videos were all not doing so hot, I would like look up on YouTube, like, why is my YouTube channel dying? And I would see all this advice. And you know, one of the most toxic pieces of advice that is casually tossed around all the time is this advice to niche down. I think that advice is super toxic for artists, and that's the kind of advice that I internalized, and then I got stuck in the skateboarding niche, and I became absolutely terrified to explore my creative truths when they strayed outside of skateboarding. So totally done with social media advice content. I also try my very best, although these apps are made to be addictive. When I post on an app like TikTok or Instagram, I don't go on the app at all. I don't want to see how many views it gets. I cannot tell you how many times I've created a piece of content, posted it to TikTok, and when it doesn't get enough views in the first 3 hours, I just delete it for nobody to see ever again. It's absolutely ridiculous. You know, so now I post and I don't look, and I'm fighting the natural urges to check and see how many likes it gets, and instead I'm just turning my focus to the next piece of art. The same goes for YouTube. No more refreshing YouTube Studio after I post a YouTube video. No more checking the number out of 10 rankings. You know, the goal is to stop checking those outcome focused statistics, stop focusing on the product, start focusing on the process. Dedicate your energy to creating work that feels good in your soul. Stop getting so caught up on whether it performs well. Another thing I want to say about attachment to algorithms is if you've inadvertently slipped into that Mr. Beast mentality like I did, where you're just trying to get that widespread reach in the algorithm, the people you're going to end up reaching in that algorithm, they like whatever bullshit you did to get them to watch the video. They like the clickbait, they like the engagement hacks, they like all the fake shit you did to get that video to perform well in the algorithm. My new perspective since reading The Artist's Way is like, why do I even want if I develop that audience, then my whole audience is just going to want me to continue doing stuff that chases the algorithm. So you get into this deep hole of dependency on playing these games with the algorithm, and it sucks. Here's a new perspective. Create honestly from your heart. Fuck how it's going to perform. When someone comes along who does like that work that you've created, that's honest and true to your creativity and your heart, that person is a member of your soul audience. We should be striving to find our soul audience instead of getting this shallow, widespread reach. If you create exactly what you want to create, you will find your soul audience. People who want to hear what you have to say, people who want to see what you have to create. As opposed to when you chase widespread reach and then you have to keep doing the bullshit in order to get them to click on it. It makes so much sense to create truly and honestly, to find that soul audience, even if it's smaller. And I highly recommend everyone read the 1000 True Fans essay. This is an essay that mathematically explains why if you have 1000 true fans or 1000 true soul audience people, you can make a living off of that as a full-time creator. Just 1000 true fans. Everyone should read this essay. Yeah, fuck that Mr. Beast mentality. Oh, and here's another thing that I'm practically implementing that I recommend every creator out there implement, and it is to create a newsletter. I think we all know by now that we cannot rely on the algorithms to deliver our work to our followers, which is crazy. It's like people press those buttons, follow and subscribe, because they like our work, but then they might never see us again, even though they've clicked those buttons, because now it's all about the algorithm. And if you don't participate in algorithm gimmicks, that work might never reach your audience. I was thinking about how I follow all these bands and I want to see their shows, especially when they're performing in my local area, but I don't see them. And like, I'll miss artists' real life events that I actually want to support because they're not posting reels or doing engagement hacks. And it just really goes to show that social media companies don't care about showing your audience your work. They only care if it's engaging and if it's going to make them more money and hold people's attention. I just posted the invite to a skate video premiere I'm having in Brooklyn. It's my worst performing post ever because it's not a reel and I'm not doing some bullshit and I'm not following the rules of Instagram, and people who chose to follow me are not even going to see that flyer. And that's just another reason why all creators should be hopping on newsletters, because I want to join the newsletters of the artists I support. I actually want to see their work, you know?
I think that the most important part of your message right now is that at the end of the day, this particular kind of post is a flat photo that is extremely important for your viewers to know about, because it's the very few times in your life as a content creator and influencer that you are engaging with your audience, and that this is not just a friends, family situation. This is like any fan, any, you know, who's above 21 can go and see. And because it's not in the particular format that performs, it doesn't need to be a circus of a post. It just is a flyer. And it's a real fucking shame that social media nowadays make you act like a monkey, performing on a stage when all you want is to give clear, concise messages that say, I'm gonna be here at this time and I'm gonna give you my best performance. And because the most enriching experiences that we have are in life. And this is a gateway, this kind of post is a gateway to actually having those experiences with your fans. And, you know, the algorithm is just flushing it down the tubes, and that's a real shame. And it goes with every kind of artist out there, whether it be bands or visual artists, galleries, you know, restaurant openings. Those are the kind of, you know, blanket statement posts that are just not valued in today's social media culture. And we need to find another way to better connect with people.
It's bullshit. It's a cycle that gets you into the burnout that I experienced. The newsletter is a direct way to reach your audience. I've started a newsletter that you can sign up for at georgepoulos.com. This is a way that I'm trying to gather my soul audience and to actually make sure that the people who want to see my work actually see my work instead of relying on algorithms. So if you want to help me get away from a toxic dependency on algorithms and you want to see my work in the future, you should subscribe to my newsletter. You should subscribe to your favorite creators' newsletters, and you should make a newsletter for your soul audience to subscribe to, so they can help you wean off your toxic dependency on algorithms. That's the algorithm. The second big product focused thing that content creators, myself included, are hyper fixated on is money. Obviously, this kind of goes hand in hand with the algorithm. Like, there's this feeling that you need to do well in the algorithm in order to make enough money, like from your AdSense, for example. And so again, money is another outcome that if you're too focused on it can actually take your energy away from what's really important, which is the process of creating great videos that you enjoy and that speak your truth and that make your heart feel good. So this was a really bad one for me. And you know, it actually came to the point where I had to accept and I had to verbalize that I'm okay with getting a job if I have to. I've even let go of the attachment of YouTube being my job, which is actually really freeing and creatively fulfilling because I've been making a lot more of just what I want to make. You know, I used to see YouTube as the be-all end-all, and I felt like if my channel died, I was a failure. And let me tell you, once I actually let go of that, suddenly I was like free. I was like, oh shit, if I don't need my videos to perform well in order to make money, like if I'm just open in the back of my mind to getting a job if I have to, suddenly I'm actually free to create whatever I want to. So this was a huge lesson for me. I cannot plan a career to unfold in a sensible direction dictated by cash flow and marketing strategies. Those things are fine, but too much attention to them can stifle the artist within. I completely resonate. I think how fixated I was on making sure I sustained the income and the algorithm performance to reflect that income. I think I really lost touch with my true creativity. And there's actually an interesting paradox here. Attempting to ensure our finances by playing it safe, we lose our cutting edge. You're focusing on money, right, and doing well in the algorithms, but are these things that we can actually predict? Can we actually predict long-term success in social media algorithms in order to sustain an income? I don't think so. So the paradox is that you're focusing on making sure your art makes you enough money, but all that's giving you is the illusion of control over your income. And I can attest to this because I was very focused on algorithmic performance and money, and my numbers were still going down. So in a sense, I was sacrificing my creative soul and making myself miserable, all for an illusion of having control over my finances. And so since in the past my money has been tied to a toxic dependency on algorithms and has inhibited my true creativity, one practical thing that I've been trying is moving to Patreon. So it's cool because on Patreon, I assume everyone financially supporting me like actually believes in me as an artist. So I can actually be more vulnerable with these people. They are my soul audience. They are the people who understand me and who want to see what I want to create. So much so that they've decided to support me on a monthly basis. I can imagine a world in which I have 1,000 patrons and I don't have to worry about doing well in the algorithms at all anymore, because there's funding there for me to create whatever I want. And that's how my truest work is going to come out. This is why artists get grants and stuff to make films and to make their art. It's because when an artist doesn't have to worry about the finances, they can really create from the heart. Patreon.com/George Poulos. I share a lot about my creative process. I'm very honest on there. I do a monthly live stream where I answer your questions about creativity, about my work, about the things I discuss, and what I'm going through in general. You can even use it as a source of inspiration for your Patreon, which I highly recommend you start if you haven't already. It's another place to gather your soul audience and to help you wean off dependence on outcomes like money and algorithms so you can focus on creating your truth. And so I really think Patreon can be a much more sustainable model that can allow you to really access your true creativity and get you out of that toxic dependency on the product. So those are the two biggies for me: performance in the algorithm and money. Those were the two product or outcome focused things that I was so fixated on that I completely forgot about the process of creating. I was like totally neglecting it. I was like on autopilot creating my content so that it would perform well in the algorithms and make me money. And I did this for years, and it crushed my creative soul. What do we do instead? We learn to enjoy the process of being a creative channel and to surrender your need to control the result. You will discover the joy of practicing your creativity. The process, not the product, will become your focus. And I do want to say, like, this by no means I'm giving up on the money side of things. I still very much want to be a creator as my career. Not only do I want it, I'm still optimistic about it. In fact, I'm even more optimistic about it than when I was focusing on making money and following the formulas and whatnot. I think my passion has really been unlocked by fully letting go of algorithm performance and money, and even acknowledging that if I have to, I'll get a job. It's really unlocked my passion for creating, and like I have this drive that I have not felt since the beginning, and it's really, really a beautiful feeling. Now, it is a dramatic mindset shift, and I know that it can be scary to let go of these things, but my theory is, and I think Julia Cameron shares this theory, is that when you just create your truth, when you create from your heart, your work is going to be better. It's going to resonate with people more. The performance and the money is going to follow naturally. It's a beautiful paradox that when you stop focusing on the outcomes and start focusing on the process of creating, the outcomes are more likely to work out anyways, especially if you're an artist in your heart. If I have a poem to write, I need to write that poem, whether it will sell or not. The new perspective is that we just got to create the things that we want to create. That's what's important. The process of creating is the important part. How they perform and all the outcomes and all the product-y things, that shit doesn't actually matter compared to the process of creation. And since I've adopted this lesson, I just feel lighter. I feel better in my heart. I'm happier. I'm more joyous. I'm more excited to create. I see a long-term future in this vision of being an artist as opposed to that narrow vision of being a content creator and doing formula shit and all that bullshit. Let's get to lesson number 2. So the second lesson that content creators can learn from The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron is to allow yourself to change. Now you're going to notice some of these lessons are really going to overlap and cascade into each other, because obviously if you're focusing on the process of creation as opposed to the product, allowing yourself to change in the work that you create is kind of a no-brainer. Of course, over time, as you change, your work is going to change. But the problem comes when you're focusing on the product and you have this internalized belief that you need to niche down and you need to constantly satisfy the audience that you've built in the past. You get stuck in your formula. And that's exactly what happened to me in the skate channel. And I was terrified to try anything else creatively. I'm very grateful that I have this new perspective, but it's almost a little sad, and I have to grieve it a little bit to think back to the fact that when I started creating skateboarding videos, it was all about having fun. It was making my heart happy. I loved it. I really loved making these skate videos, but then slowly over time, never lost my love for skateboarding, but making the skate videos just started feeling forced, and I lost my passion for it, and I stuck with this format format that in the past was really in alignment for me and I had so much fun with. But slowly I changed and grew over time as a person and as an adult. But I stuck with that format in the past, and it created this weird cognitive dissonance where I was like pretending to enjoy the things I was creating, but I didn't really in my heart. But like all this external stuff I was putting out said that this is what I love to do. And yeah, it was this weird cognitive dissonance that led me to obviously that burnout I've been talking about, and also kind of an identity crisis, because I was like holding on to something that I thought I was supposed to like doing, and it was supposed to be this dream come true of being a creator, but I wasn't feeling it inside, you know. So it led to this identity crisis, and I was too scared to try anything else. Like I said, when I did try new kinds of videos on my channel, I would hit that 10 of 10 ranking, which would just utterly discourage me and destroy me. And that's what contributed to this deeply internalized limiting belief that the only way I could succeed with my creativity was by showing myself skateboarding. And I really internalized that, and it's sad to think about that now, because now I'm feeling a lot more expansive and free, and it's big thanks to the artist's way and the lessons that I'm sharing with you now. Anyway, so like I said, if you adopt lesson number 1, process over product, it becomes much easier to change your art as you change as a person. As humans, we are always growing and changing, so of course our art is going to change. And of course, if you try to limit your art to a particular format that was doing well for you in the algorithm in the past, of course you're going to create this awkward cognitive dissonance and burnout. It's really a disservice to your creative spirit to force yourself to stay in a particular niche. We opt for setting our limits at the point where we feel assured of success. Living within these bounds, we may feel stifled, smothered, despairing, bored. But yes, we do feel safe. And safety is a very expensive illusion. It's absolutely expensive. I can attest from experience that sticking with that particular skateboarding vlog format for such a long time, it killed me inside. My soul was shriveled up and dying. Allowing myself to make different kinds of videos was one of the scariest things I've done. Like I said, I had this deeply internalized belief that I could only make money from my skateboarding online. You watching this video right now is a manifestation of me trying new things. The whole second channel, actually, and the Head High with George Poulos podcast, I've actively been freeing myself up. I've said fuck it to the formulas and to holding on to what did well in the past, and I'm just throwing darts out there, and I'm having fun with the work that I create. This video is a manifestation of that. I read this book. It has been circulating in my mind since. I'm obsessed with it. I think it has some very important lessons. I'm passionate about expressing myself. My heart called for me to make this video, and thanks to these lessons by Julia Cameron, I finally had the courage to allow myself to change, lean into change, try new video formats, and it is a big weight off of my shoulders, and I feel so good. Even though my money is not as promised anymore, and I don't have that formula to fall back on, you know, to do well in the algorithm and get some AdSense my way, I feel like myself again in it, and it feels so good to be doing this. I'm enjoying the process again by allowing myself to change. And so, you know, I see content creators all the time, constantly staying in a very narrow niche for years on end, and I know, well, okay, I don't know, but from personal experience, I don't understand how they're still doing it. My soul died. I couldn't do it anymore. It feels so much better to set yourself free and create whatever you want, and to allow yourself to change and pivot. This second channel, it has 8,000 subscribers. My skate channel has 300,000, but this second channel is what feels good in my heart, and it's because I'm not thinking about the followers or the outcomes or the product. I'm just thinking about the videos that I'm creating. This is a big lesson for content creators, which is to allow yourself to change, allow yourself to pivot. Even if it doesn't fit the formula that has been doing well for you in the past, please make what's in your heart, even if that means changing up your content a little bit. Okay, let's move on to lesson number 3, is to remember to have fun when you create content, right? It's like all this shit, all this bullshit, this chasing the algorithm and not allowing yourself to change. Like over time, being a content creator can completely lose the fun element. And Julia Cameron suggests that fun is actually a very powerful tool for creating great work. So like if you're stuck in that hamster wheel that I was describing with my skateboarding content, I recommend asking yourself, like, fuck everything. What just sounds fun for you to make right now and go make that. I bet you will feel this just euphoric feeling in your spirit, especially if you've denied yourself access to that fun for so long like I did. And so fun is actually a really powerful access point to making great art. Like I said, fun is what got me to make skateboarding videos in the first place, which gave me a platform and an audience and a career. And so it's a shame that we forget to listen to that innate driving force of just having fun. I've been trying to have more fun. I've been trying to shit post more. For example, fuck Instagram, dumbest app. Sorry. I was working with Formula not only on YouTube, but on Instagram and TikTok as well. Man, Instagram, why does it feel like, first it felt like you needed to curate this beautiful feed of photos, and now it feels like you need to curate this feed of Instagram reels. And so recently I did an experiment where I just pulled open Instagram, took a selfie in the app, and hard posted it to the feed. That felt really good, yo. It was fun. I finally broke away from that formula and that bullshit that was like literally tying me down and not allowing me to create what I wanted to. I encourage you to take some drastic action like that too. When I was beginning this process, I also made second accounts on Instagram and TikTok. I did the same here on YouTube. If that's what's going to allow you to just create more freely, like if you're really feeling that fear to expand on your current profile, I say just fuck it. Just listen to that, make the second account, and start fucking around on there. And again, you tie this back to focusing on the process, not the product. Since I was really trying to internalize that, I didn't really care that maybe nobody was going to see this content on those second accounts. It was more about like showing myself that I can create something different. And it really gave me this sense of expansion and freedom that, you know, I got to feel firsthand how good it feels to create from my heart and to just have fun and to allow myself to change. And it was kind of, you know, posting on those second accounts was kind of evidence for me that Julia Cameron was onto something, you know, and I haven't gone back since. So whatever you got to do, make a second account if you have to, post something that is just totally fun. And so for me, this is a manifestation of that. I saw someone at a party with an old camcorder and I thought that sounded like fun. So I bought this camcorder from 2007. And since it is fun for me to use, I have been using it a lot and I have been getting some really awesome footage. And somehow we convince ourselves that there are rules like, oh, all your videos have to be in 4K and you have to use like professional cameras. What the fuck, bro? Like all this shit is just getting in the way from the good work that's waiting in your heart for you to create. So do something fun. Do something fun. You know, I also got the retro film camera. You know, we can also have fears that things like this are corny and that can prevent us from having fun. It's all bullshit. Just have fun. Allow yourself to expand and be free and have fun. Not only are you going to feel good in your soul and you're going to start to finally escape that burnout, you also might happen to find your soul audience in the process. That soul audience who likes to see what you have fun making. That's that powerful combo. Over any extended period of time, being an artist requires enthusiasm more than discipline. Enthusiasm is a spiritual commitment, a loving surrender to our creative process, a loving recognition of all the creativity around us. When you're having fun, when you're enthusiastic about what you want to create, that is a powerful driving force to actually create. And that actually is a nice segue into lesson number 4, which is fuck the upload schedule. This is a big one that was holding me back when I was going through my creative crisis, was that I was so attached to this upload schedule that I didn't even have the room to breathe to figure out these things that I'm now reveling in. And I need to acknowledge actually and admit my own mistake. I was part of that toxic advice. You know how I mentioned that toxic advice that's just bad for artists to hear, which is to niche down and stay in your niche and get hyper specific and don't stray away. You know, that's the kind of advice that prevented me from taking this change that I needed to make to feel good in my soul. I would really preach the idea that the upload schedule is king. I told myself I was going to post a video every 3 days. I have not missed a single video. Having a schedule and sticking to it is important. I would tell people who wanted to succeed on YouTube that all you need to do is commit to an upload schedule, and if you never give up, you will make it. I think there is validity in that, particularly with people who give up on things easily and maybe have a lot of self-doubt. I think falling back on the upload schedule can help, but I also think there comes a time where the upload schedule becomes toxic and inhibiting to creativity, and that's what I experienced. I was a content robot corpse. My spirit wasn't in it, my energy wasn't in it. I was forcing it all of the way. And I had to rush and I would sacrifice on my self-care and my sleep and my social life. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And then on top of that, I felt like I had to post every day on TikTok and Instagram too. And I had no room to think and breathe. And actually, there was no space to even consider what it was that I actually wanted to create. It was so fast paced that I just had to be a robot. And that's another thing that contributed to burnout. An artist must have downtime, time to do nothing. Defending our right to such time takes courage, conviction, and resiliency. It certainly does take courage. I think Emma Chamberlain said it really well in her podcast episode about why it is so hard to take a break on YouTube, for example.
The narrative around being a YouTuber is that you have to upload once a week minimum, or else you will become irrelevant quicker than you can say the ABCs, baby.
So yeah, it's scary, and it's just another one of these things that everybody says and we choose to internalize, and then it gets in the way of our creativity. And it's this idea that we need to be posting consistently or else you're not going to make it as a content creator, and I call bullshit on that. Okay, I'm not telling you to be lazy though. Remember the last lesson of having fun and how over any extended period of time being an artist requires enthusiasm more than discipline, right? Discipline is the upload schedule. Enthusiasm is just committing to creating what you want to create. I've been doing the latter for a few months and I'm still making shit. It's still coming out. I haven't dropped off the face of the earth. In fact, I'm creating with much more lightness and happiness, and I'm creating work I'm far more proud of. I've actually hard stopped with my obsessive posting on TikTok and Instagram because what my heart is telling me to create is these podcast format videos and other different kinds of videos. I finally let go of all those content schedules. You know, I used to have it just plastered on this big ass calendar, post-its every single day for pieces of content. And oh my God, it's crazy how dramatically different this new perspective is, but I like it. I like it. I've had no upload schedule on any social media platforms in a few months, but I'm working these full days just fueled by excessive enthusiasm and superhuman energy that I haven't felt in those years where I was burning out. And it's because I have that enthusiasm. I have that joy. It is joy, not duty, that makes for a lasting bond. This is profound stuff, guys. I don't know if you could feel it, but like, oh man, I'm just feeling amazing. Letting go of all that bullshit and focusing on all that good shit. The process of creating, having fun, disregarding all those weird rules that I internalized about succeeding as a creator. Fuck all that. Here's another lesson I really like. So Julia Cameron actually recommends periodic reading deprivation. When you're constantly consuming other people's art and other people's perspectives, it can be difficult to have the clarity of mind to determine what it is that you want to create and what you want to put out into the world. This is very, very relevant in the scrolling era. You cannot be on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube all day every time you have a free moment because it's filling your brain with other people's content. And it's impossible if that's all in your brain with your scrambled eggs brain. It's impossible to figure out what it is that you want to create. Miraculously, since reading this book and just becoming so excited about this new direction in my art and in my creativity, I have finally found the willpower to quit TikTok and Instagram. I have tried to quit these apps many times before, could never find the motivation, but now I finally found the motivation. I have not scrolled on TikTok nor Instagram for months now, and I want to clarify, once in a while I am opening those apps to post my work, but I'm not scrolling anymore. I will admit I still have YouTube on my phone and I'm spending a lot of time on there, but it doesn't feel, for me, it's not scrambling my brain eggs quite as much as TikTok and Instagram. So I love this advice of sporadic reading deprivation. I'm going to try never to get back as a consumer on TikTok and Instagram. I think that shit is mad toxic. If that sounds unrealistic to you, try a few days a month or try 1 week per month. Spend that week doing real life shit and thinking and experiencing, and that's going to become fuel for your true creativity. All right, you've made it this far. I think that now it's time to get a little bit spiritual. Lesson number 6 is to understand that creativity is actually your natural state. So all this bullshit I've been talking about, all these rules of niching down and all this focus on the algorithm and the money and the strategy and the upload schedule, all of this is just bullshit that actually gets in the way of your innate desire to create. This is kind of Julia Cameron's underlying thesis, is that we need to step out of our own ways. And if we just let go of all these things and let go of our own skepticism, and actually I have a quote for that. Perhaps the greatest barrier for any of us as we look for an expanded life is our deeply held skepticism. Yeah, the ultimate block to our creativity is actually ourselves. It's because we're internalizing and believing in all this bullshit. But we actually have the power to let go of all that and focus on creating from our hearts. We will discover the nature of our particular genius when we stop trying to conform to our own or to other people's models, learn to be ourselves, and allow our natural channels to open. If you can actually believe in this idea that creativity is your natural state, and you can like find this spiritual belief in creativity, which I have since reading this book, all of these lessons, they become very obvious and easy to implement, and that fear kind of drops away, and you know, that spirituality actually really opens you up to all this. And for me, it's just, oh my gosh, it's made a world of a difference in my mindset, and I feel so much better. Got that sunset light coming in, ladies and gentlemen. All right, one more lesson. I kind of haven't really figured it out yet, but Julia Cameron recommends that as an artist, you find what she calls a sacred circle of other artists. So you've heard me say the word bullshit a lot. There's a lot of bullshit out there that, you know, prevents you from accessing your true nature of creativity. Well, most people out there in the world, they believe in all that bullshit. They think that is the way of the world. And Julia Cameron says that if you're around these people who believe in all that bullshit, they have the ability to further dampen your artistic truth. In fact, even if you're kind of on the road of a breakthrough and becoming an artist, if you're around too many people who are pessimistic about life and think you need to get a real job and shit like that, they can drag you down. And it's important to be around people who share this vision and who believe in the artist's way. So I don't really feel like I actually have that sacred circle. I really want one. I would love, you know, people to talk about the ups and downs of being an artist with. Maybe my Patreon community will slowly turn into that. That would be awesome. Slowly over time, I've been more and more surrounded by self-employed people, creatives, artists. I now live in an apartment with 2 artists. I used to, you know, be surrounded by kind of people on a corporate path, you know, going into finance, traditional careers, software engineering, things like that. Like, there's nothing wrong with these people, but being around that energy can really kind of dampen. I experienced a dampening of my confidence and my creative spirits and my optimism about, you know, making it as an artist and choosing to be an artist. And, you know, since the people I've been surrounded by have slowly shifted into these creative types, I've actually just felt a little bit more at peace, a little bit calmer. I'm in a neighborhood where a lot of artists live in, and that feels really good. I feel like I'm with my people. I feel uplifted. The reason I say I haven't quite fulfilled this lesson yet is I don't like have a core group of artists that I regularly meet with to kind of talk about our struggles and share our work and things like that. That's something I would really love. Okay, final thoughts. If you're a content creator, like if life has brought you to the point where your career is to use your creativity and post it on the internet, I think there's probably something innate in you that brought you there. And I think that innate thing is that you are an artist. I think you should acknowledge that. If you resonated with any of this, actually, you should 100% read the book. Cannot recommend it enough. It will lead to a breakthrough. Last thing I'll say is if this video has inspired you to take the leap from being a content creator to being an artist, I know it's scary, but we're in this together and we fucking got this. Okay, if you ever want to hear from me again, I can't promise that the algorithms will show you my work, so I suggest you subscribe to my newsletter at georgepoulos.com. And if you want to support me and, you know, join my inner circle on Patreon, I would appreciate that as well. Patreon.com/georgepoulos if you want to support. Take care. Godspeed on your creative journeys. Okay, peace.